Have you ever felt a silence so loud it shatters everything you thought you knew? I was standing in the doorway of our dimly lit garage in suburban Chicago, the smell of damp concrete and old paint thick in the air. In my hand was my daughter Lily's tablet, its screen glowing with a chat history that felt like a punch to the gut. It was a conversation between my wife, Sarah, and a man she called Marky. The messages were intimate. The last one she sent just an hour ago read, "He has no idea. Trust me completely." See at the usual spot. He has no idea. That was me. Oh, I was he. And the cold, sick feeling spreading through my chest told me this was only the beginning of a nightmare I was already living in. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 15 years, Sarah and I had built what I thought was a fortress, a home, a family, a life. Our daughter Lily was 14 and going through that tough teenage phase, moody, withdrawn, challenging every rule. We were worried. A friend from our church, Grace Community Chapel, suggested we talk to the new youth pastor, Mark. He was young, charismatic, and everyone raved about how he connected with the kids. Sarah took the lead, arranging meetings for Lily. She'd come home from these sessions glowing, telling me, "Mark is a godsend. He's really getting through to her. I've been sitting in on some of the sessions, and he gives great advice for parents, too." I was relieved. I was a fool. The shift was subtle at first. Sarah, who always complained about church events, suddenly became the most devout member of the congregation. "I'm volunteering for the food drive, honey. I'm helping Mark organize the youth group lock-in." Her phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now glued to her hip, screen down. When I'd walk into her room, she'd quickly lock it and offer a tight, artificial smile. She started dressing up more, not for our date nights, which had become rare, but for her church meetings. She smelled of a new perfume, a floral scent I didn't recognize. When I asked about it, she just said, "Oh, it was a sample from a magazine." Every answer was plausible, yet every one felt like a carefully constructed lie. Our home, once filled with easy laughter, became a stage for a play where I was the only one who didn't know his lines. Sarah's affection turned performative. Her kisses were brief, her hugs hollow. She'd look at me, but her eyes were distant, as if she were looking straight through me. The man she was cheating with, Marky, was Mark, the youth pastor. The man counseling our troubled daughter? The realization hit me like a physical blow. The usual spot mentioned in the text? I soon found out it was a cheap motel off I-90, a place where anonymity was the main amenity. My wife, the woman who insisted on organic groceries and boutique hotels, was meeting her lover in a place with stained carpets and the faint smell of bleach. The villains, Sarah and Mark, moved with an unsettling arrogance. They felt untouchable, wrapped in the sanctimonious cloak of the church. At Sunday service, Mark would stand on the pulpit, preaching about family values and faithfulness, sometimes catching my eye and giving me a knowing, pious nod. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Sarah would sit beside me, her hand resting on my arm, a perfect portrait of a devoted wife, while just hours before she was in a motel room with that very same preacher. They were flaunting it right in front of me, hidden in plain sight. My humiliation was a constant, burning coal in my stomach. I felt like a ghost in my own life, watching it all unfold from a distance. Lily had slammed her door after an argument with Sarah about her grades. Sarah, instead of engaging, just sighed and said, "I need to go clear my head. I'll be back later." She left, her phone clutched in her hand. I knew where she was going. I walked into our bedroom, the scent of her new perfume hanging in the air. I saw myself in the mirror, a tired, defeated man, and I just broke. I sank to the floor, my back against the bed we once shared, and the silence of the house consumed me. It wasn't loud anymore. It was heavy, suffocating. The tears I'd been holding back for weeks finally came, hot and bitter. I wasn't just crying for my marriage. I was crying for the man I used to be, the man who believed in trust and forever. In that moment of complete despair, something inside me shifted. The grief curdled into a cold, hard resolve. They thought I was a fool. They were about to find out how wrong they were. My grief became my fuel. My architectural mind, trained to see structures and systems, began to design not a building, but a demolition. The first step was evidence. Absolute, undeniable proof. I installed a small, undetectable GPS tracker on Sarah's car. I bought a voice-activated recorder, no bigger than a shirt button, and slipped it into the side pocket of the gym bag she'd started taking everywhere. The recordings were brutal. I'd listen in my car during my lunch break, my knuckles white on the steering wheel as I heard my wife's laughter mixed with his. I heard them mock me. "He's so predictable," she'd say. "Works, comes home, watches TV. He wouldn't know a clue if it hit him in the face." Mark's voice was smug. "It's God's will we found each other, Sarah. He's a placeholder, a provider. But I'm your soulmate." Each word was a nail in the coffin of the woman I once loved. I also hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who specialized in infidelity cases. He was expensive, but worth every penny. He got me photos, crystal clear photos of them kissing in the motel parking lot. Photos of them holding hands at a secluded park. Photos of Mark's car parked outside our house on a weekday afternoon when I was at work and Lily was at school. I saved everything to a secure cloud server, creating a digital arsenal of their betrayal. I documented their motel receipts, which I found in her car's glove compartment. I cross-referenced the dates and times with her church volunteer schedule. The web of lies was intricate, but I was meticulously unraveling every single thread. My demeanor at home changed. I became the husband she accused me of being: predictable, placid, and blissfully ignorant. I brought her flowers. I suggested date nights, smiling politely when she'd cancel at the last minute for a youth group emergency. I was setting a trap, and the bait was my own apparent stupidity. The annual church fundraising gala was in 3 weeks. It was the biggest social event of the year for our congregation. A night of self-congratulation and community pride, hosted at a fancy downtown hotel. Pastor Mark was slated to give the keynote speech on the sanctity of the family. The irony was so thick you could choke on it. This would be my stage. It's the week of the gala. I put the final pieces in place. I compiled the evidence into a devastating 5-minute video. It started with a photo of our wedding day, then cut to the GPS data of our trips to the motel. It layered their recorded conversations over photos of them together. The PIS pictures were the grand finale. I also prepared a package for the church's board of elders, containing printed copies of everything, along with a detailed timeline of the affair, including how it started under the guise of counseling my daughter. I even printed out 100 glossy 8x10s of the most damning photo. Sarah and Mark in a passionate embrace in the motel parking lot. My heart was a block of ice. I felt nothing but the cold, sharp focus of a predator closing in on its prey. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was glittering. Sarah was on Mark's arm, laughing, introducing him to people as the man who saved our family. She looked stunning in a new dress. The one she told me was for a work thing. I watched them from across the room, a ghost they had long since stopped seeing. When the time came for Mark's keynote speech, I excused myself, telling Sarah I had to take a call. I found the AV technician, a young guy I'd tipped heavily earlier. "Ready?" I asked. He nodded. Mark took the stage, 2 thunderous applause. He began his speech, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "The family is the bedrock of our society, a sacred trust given to us by God." As he spoke, I gave the signal. The massive screens on either side of the stage, meant to show a close-up of his face, flickered. Then my video began to play. The room fell silent. The first image of our wedding photo drew confused murmurs. Then the GPS map appeared, the line from our house to the motel tracing a path of betrayal. Sarah's recorded voice filled the ballroom. "He has no idea. He trusts me completely." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah's face went white. Mark froze at the podium, his mouth hanging open. Photos flashed on screen, the kisses, the secret meetings. The final image, their motel embrace, stayed on the screens as the audio of him calling me a placeholder echoed in the cavernous hall. At that moment, my associates began circulating through the tables, placing a copy of that photo at every place setting. The humiliation was absolute, public, and inescapable. Sarah didn't scream or cry. She just crumpled, physically folding in on herself as hundreds of eyes bore into her. Mark stumbled off the stage, his career and reputation incinerated in 5 minutes. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I'd already filed for divorce that morning, citing adultery with the evidence attached. I had secured a court order giving me temporary sole custody of Lily and possession of the house. By the time Sarah got home, the locks were changed, and a box with a few of her things was on the porch, next to the legal notice. The church, to save face, excommunicated them both within 48 hours. Their friends, our friends, abandoned them instantly. She was ruined, socially and financially. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I just felt quiet. The storm was over, and the demolition was complete. All that was left was the silence and the debris. I stand here now, in the same garage where it all began, looking at the empty space where her car used to be. The house is quiet, but it's a different kind of quiet now. It's not heavy or suffocating. It's just empty. Lily is getting the professional help she actually needs, and we are slowly, painfully trying to rebuild. There was no cathartic release, no righteous celebration. I had one. I had destroyed her.
Ow.
But all I had truly done was meticulously document the end of my own world. The cold Chicago wind rattles the window pane, a lonely, hollow sound. The end.